Before we can begin mixing, we have to first commit to having finished composing. So it can be really problematic if we get into the mixing process and then all of a sudden we jump back and we change a note or we change the sound of an instrument or we do something else. It can really throw off the entire mix. So it's really important to commit to having finished the compositional process before moving into the mix. So in order to do that, I start by doing two things. The first thing is I save my set or save my project in its current state. And then the second thing is I bounce out a stereo mix of my project within this state to serve as a reference for once I move into the mixing process. So if we start with saving, we go up to File, Save Live Set As, and I always choose Save Live Set As because it prompts me first off for where do I want to save it to. If I just click Save Live Set, who knows where it's going to go. It's going to go to wherever I last saved and who knows where that is. So I always choose this Save Live Set As, or the shortcut Command-Shift-S. So if I select that, it prompts me for where I'm going to save it to. I can already see that I'm inside of my project folder, but let's get back there. I saved to Dropbox. Saved to Dropbox for a variety of reasons. One, I love cloud syncing and that it's not only here, but it's also everywhere else. I know that some of you may have mixed feelings about cloud saving, but for me, it saved me more times than I would like to admit. But I save it to my Dropbox, program files. Here I've got all my Ableton projects. Here's all the stuff I've been working on this year. Here's this month, and into the Mellow Is as Yellow Does, which is the name of this project. And then I have a naming convention that I follow that helps me keep track of what project this is, what stage within the project this version of my project was, and what date and version number for that date I was working on. So I start with the name of the project. In this case, it's Mellow Is as Yellow Does. Then in parentheses, what stage in the process was this? So let's call this, rather than comp done, let's just call it comp, letting me know that this is my composition version of the file. So I have yet to move on to mixing and mastering for this. And then I follow that with the version number for the day. So today is the year 2016, the month of May, and the 22nd of May. And then actually now we're moving on to version 3 for today. So go to version 3, and then I'll click Save. Save. And now if I go look at my current project, we can see here's all the versions that I've got going on so far. We've got what I started working on this morning, version 1, later this afternoon, version 2, and now this evening, version 3. So there's all of my version numbers for the day. Makes it really easy to track. I can see some other things that I was working on. I've already started a few prep for mixes and things like that, but we're going to get back from that. So that's first off saving. Then the next thing is bouncing out a stereo mix of this. So to do that, I'm going to start with selecting the chunk of time that I want to bounce out. And I always select sometime after the piece ends or the track ends. That way if there's any reverb or delays or things like that that are still echoing out there at the end, I still capture that in my stereo mix. So we'll go ahead and bounce it out there. Then let's go up to File, Export Audio/Video. I want to render the master track. I want to render from bar 1, beat 1, division 1 to bar 160, the last beat, the last division of the beat, so the full bar of 160. I don't need to render it as a loop. That was if I was bouncing this out as a short little drum pattern or something like that I wanted to loop over and over again, and then to have little fades at the beginning and the end to help smooth that out. I would select that. In this case, we don't need that. What are the file types that I want to bounce out here? Do I want it to be either of the lossless forms of WAV or AIFF? I'm accustomed to AIFF because born and raised on Apples, but WAV is just as good or same. Then I always bounce at whatever current sample rate I'm working at. In this case, I'm working at 44.1. And then the bit depth that I want to work with, keep it as high as I can for now in case I need to do anything with this file. And then as I'm exporting, I want to create an analysis file. That way when I bring this back in, Ableton's already gone through and analyzed it, and it'll be much quicker on the import than it will be if I hadn't analyzed it already. I don't want to select normalize. Normalization, what that does is it actually looks through the entire duration of the audio file that we're exporting, finds the loudest moment Then we'll either increase or decrease that volume to ensure that it reaches or meets the maximum volume that we can create without producing any digital distortion. So while that might be a good thing if I'm just trying to bounce out a quick demo of this to send to a friend so that they can actually hear it and make sure it's loud enough for them to be able to hear. But what I don't like about that is that it's the computer making choices about music for me rather than me making those myself. And in the long run, it's always going to come out sounding different than the way that it did as I was listening back to it. So I hardly ever check that unless I just, again, need that quick, dirty reference to be able to send out to somebody or demo for somebody. Convert to mono if I wanted this to not be a stereo mix, meaning an independent channel for both the left and the right speakers or sides of the headphone. In this case, I want to keep it as a stereo mix. I don't need to upload it to SoundCloud, and there's no video involved in this project. So I can click export. It's going to prompt me where do I want to export it to. And I'll typically make inside of my project folder, I'll make a subfolder called bounces, where I can stick all of my bounces. In this case, I'll keep running with my version numbers of, here we are at the end of the comp stage, and let's call it the pre-mix. So mellow is as yellow does, pre-mix, and then the version for that day, the year, month, date. This is going to be version 3 for today. Click save. And now we're ready to move on to actually prepping our tracks for exporting and moving into the bounce stage of the game. So see you guys in the next video.